We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. They always have been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been bigger.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Crypto Live, everybody's favorite crypto YouTube channel that streams every single morning, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. We got a good show going on today. I'm TA Tim, and I'm joined by two phenomenal people, as we decided yesterday. Both of them cracking within my top 100. But I think it's, I thought about it a little bit more after the afternoon. I think you're both probably top 20, if I'm really being honest. So I am joined by T-Shroom sitting next to me, and I am joined by my technical director, Smay the Turtle King. T-Shroom, let's start with you. How you doing this morning?
Better than I deserve, Tim.
Boom. Yeah, I was expecting the answer, but you never know, so you still got to ask the question. What about you, Smay?
Better than I deserve, Tim.
I didn't expect it twice, so that is different. Yeah,
I had to do it to you. But I like to every morning. This is my morning ritual. I get up. Okay, my morning ritual. I get up.
That's good.
So the first thing I do is I wake up.
That's good.
The second thing I do is I use the bathroom.
Okay.
Yes.
Tracking so far.
Solid.
Yes. Well, 50% of the time.
Yeah.
And then
Most of it.
Yeah, most of the time. Then I, take care of my hygiene, stuff like that, the regular stuff.
Yes.
Then I drive here, right?
Okay.
And then
I'm tracking.
all right, I'm still going. And then I drive here, and then we plan the stream, right?
Yeah.
And then I sit down and I start the stream, right?
Yeah.
And then I get to sit here and read green names. It's my favorite part of my morning routine.
That's a solid morning
So you
routine.
basically wake up and then read green names, is what you're saying.
In a very, yeah. So anyways, I'm going to take this opportunity to read green names. We have Elliot Locke, we got Brad Gatto, we got Groovy, we got Gia S, we got Crypto Set Guy, we got Groovy, we got Elliot Locke, we got Brad Geidel, we got Agent Gold, we got Elliot Locke, we got Mitch Shaw, we got D's Nuts, we got JoJo, we got D's Nuts, we got
He said earlier he's only here for that part.
We got Crypto JMP, we got Tom Wilkes, we got Adam Rourke. Who else we got here? We got Christopher McFarlane, we got Crypto Alchemist.
What?
Oh my gosh, all these people, all these Sultan Assault, Adam McVille, Melville,
No
Adam
Grand
Melville,
Roofing Incorporated?
Grand Roofing Incorporated.
Oh, I didn't see it. No, I'm saying where
Well, I had to give him a shout out anyways. So, guys, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. Anyways, back to you, Tim.
Well, okay, back to me. Guys, it's going to be a fun show because not a whole heck of a lot of news is going to be popping. And also, a lot of the charts, the technicals, we're going to examine that. We're going to spend some time looking at the charts. But not really all that much has changed since we talked about yesterday. So there's going to be some repeats. We're going to dive in deeper. What I really would love is to see a lot of questions in chat. And T-Shroom, I want you to keep your eyes on not just the super chats, but if you see anything good in the comments, love for you to put that up there for us to discuss.
Absolutely.
However, we're going to be talking about, here in a little bit, we're going to be talking about news coming out of the White House. That's kind of confirming some of our suspicions about what this inflation number is going to look like here tomorrow. We also have news. There's been about $8 million of Ethereum hacked or phished. We'll talk a little about that over on Uniswap. The euro also taking a dive against the US dollar. We will talk about all that and more. And then in the discussion section of today's show, we will be discussing the future potential of CBDCs as proposed by something the Treasury said in response to the White House. That is what we're going to be talking about today. But before we jump into our charts and before we jump into those news articles we just talked about, because every single morning we do a market pulse, I wanted to bring to you guys a special word by one of our channel sponsors. Again, we want to thank them so much for helping us keep these bright lights on, keeping us coming to you guys every single day. And we haven't talked about them here in a while, but it's iTrust Capital. iTrust Capital is phenomenal. And it's really funny because a lot of people right now they're not thinking about their future as much as they're thinking about the immediate here and now. They're looking at that price of Bitcoin. They're watching it dip. We're back below 20,000 today, and people are so focused on the small little time frame things that they forget that the future is bright, and the future, you're gonna need to prepare for it. And one of the biggest things that people are worried about is taxes, and taxes are gonna come up a little bit later in the show as well. But if you are somebody who's worried about your taxes, if you're somebody who's worried about, man, how do I make all these capital gains, and how do I make them without paying the government all of the money, guess what? One of the ways to do that is to set up a crypto Roth IRA, and one of the companies that will help you do that is, of course, iTrust Capital. So not only do we thank them and love them because they're a supporter of the channel, we also love what they're doing for the crypto space, and those of us who actually take advantage of it and begin to plan for our future will benefit down the road. So thank you so much, iTrust Capital. There's a link in the description down below. You can get $100 off right now if you sign up. Go check out that link.
Tim, you know what I trust?
What do you trust?
I trust Capital.
Wow. I love it.
Guys, it's a great service. Check it out.
Yeah.
Back to you, Tim.
Bam. Let's jump into some stories, but real quick before we jump into stories too, let's get that like button up. We have 430 people watching. I know the views are going to climb up. We're going to get over 1,000 views today. Let's get the likes. Smay, what should we do if we were to get 1,000 likes today? I don't know if we're going to, but if we were to get 1,000 likes, what should we do?
If we get 1,000 likes, okay, 1,000 of them, which means that's 10 times 100.
Yeah.
Of those likes, I will shave.
You will shave.
Yes.
There we go.
I'll shave.
I love it.
I'll go
I love
naked face.
keep
on,
it
we gotta do better
special.
than
There we
that.
go. Baby face May. Let's go ahead and go to my screen. The first story we're talking about here is the White House is downplaying upcoming release of elevated inflation numbers. So let's pause right there. First of all, this is kind of the confirmation that we thought was going to happen. But even when the White House goes ahead and concedes that the inflation numbers are not about to be pretty, that's when we can go ahead and start locking in. This is not going to be what we want tomorrow. So anyone who was holding out hope that those numbers were going to be coming back in lower, maybe staying at 8.6 or going lower, I don't think there's a lot of hope for those predictions left. And they go on in this article. It turns out that the White House is continuing to blame the war in Ukraine. And I will give them one thing. While I disagree, because it also has to do, obviously, a lot of the Republicans are talking about how the White House's use of money and the bills that have been presented to help America caused a lot of printing of money, and that is the number one cause of inflation. They do have a point, and I have to give it to them. Yes, the war in Ukraine does have an effect on gas prices, which then, of course, the gas prices are going to affect how we can transport food with trucks and trains and boats and everything. So, of course, the cost of food is going to go up, and, of course, one of the biggest metrics of the CPI is what's happening to food and goods and electricity. So, I'm not saying that it is 100% on Ukraine, but they do have a point. The Ukraine war dragging on will continue, and until we see a resolution there, it will continue to inflate the US dollar. I just don't think that that's anywhere near as big of a deal as the money printing, but I will leave that up to each one of you individually to assess what do you think is going to happen there. But take away from this as far as what Bitcoin's price is related, when the White House is confessing that inflation numbers are about to be bad, I mean, we'll wait for the official number to come out tomorrow, but that's pretty much said and done. It is going to be higher than 8.6. The next story we're going to talk about here is that there are hackers that nabbed $8 million in Ethereum via Uniswap phishing attack. And if you guys were to scroll through this story, this is a really interesting one, because what happened was there was a phishing scam that promised a free airdrop of 400 UNI tokens, which is worth approximately $2,200. And a lot of people fell for it and signed up for it. So T-Shirt, we were talking about that a little bit this morning. Why are crypto users still falling for scams of this magnitude, especially in a bear market? Why would any exchange be giving away $2,200 worth of tokens for free? What are your thoughts about that, T-Shirt?
They wouldn't. This is not a time where people are giving out freebies. I mean, the best that we've seen in a while is Binance and Binance US making their BTC trading fees $0, which has been good if you've been able to take advantage of that. But nobody's giving out free money right now. This is a bear market. You don't even see these numbers in the top of a bull market. So why would you expect these things to be real? So, this is a lot of money. These are a lot of people that got caught up in this phishing incident, and it's really sad. It's really disappointing that this many people would be taken advantage of like that.
I think a good takeaway from this story is, in the world of crypto, if it sounds too good to be true, even if it is true, go ahead and pretend it's not. I think even what you were talking about earlier, exchanges giving away things like $10 worth here, $50 worth here. I think those need to end. I think there's such a confusion in the crypto space right now when it comes to giveaways, and there have been so many people hurt by scams like this. I mean, of course, even here on YouTube, a lot of you guys get messages from us, whether on Instagram or Twitter or something from fake accounts saying, hey, if you send us a Bitcoin, we'll send you back 2 Bitcoins. First of all, we don't do that. We don't have a business model that does that. But let's pretend that we ever had the inkling of a thought to actually end up doing that, where we got all our licensing and everything to invest and trade and do things for other people. I would have to kill that right now simply because of how vast of a scam that is. I would never want to take people's money in exchange to try to trade for them because it's such a large scam. In the same way, I think exchanges are going to have to get to that same place where it's like, hey, even if they had a thought, let's do some giveaways. Let's give this whole space is going to get to where no one can trust any type of giveaway. So that's just not a tactic that can work. So this is really sad. Again, $8 million of Ethereum stolen. That was, like, I think, a 7,500 or more Ethereum as a whole were stolen from people. Don't trust these things, guys. Don't fall for scams. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. It is absolutely too good to be true. Let's move on, though. The euro is taking a breather after teetering on the brink of dollar parity. And this, I just pulled up this article because I know last night I think Greg, our sales manager, sent me an article talking about how the euro actually got down to $1. I think technically it was like 1.008. So that technically, if you were to round it up, was $1 and a penny compared to the dollar. But T-Shroom, what are your thoughts about that? It's so funny because we're so worried and we're watching the U.S. dollar die, but I've seen articles recently talking about the peso, for example, down in Colombia is absolutely being obliterated. People down there are starting to switch to crypto. The euro is going down. We've seen reports of the British pound being absolutely obliterated. What is your thought right now overall about fiat currencies compared to the U.S. dollar?
Sure, yeah. If you want to go to my screen, I've got the euro to dollar pulled up. You can see that down here last night it did get down to like almost exactly $1, which is kind of crazy. If you've ever traveled over to Europe, you know, things are usually slightly more expensive. Now they're almost exactly the same price, at least from a currency perspective. But I think this is kind of like the best house in the bad neighborhood type of outcome here. It's like, yeah, fiat currencies are pretty terrible. If you're in the crypto space, that's something you more than likely believe. But the United States dollar is just, you know, it's pretty strong right now, but it's pretty strong right now relative to a bad neighborhood. So that's the kind of the way that I'm thinking about it. Is it a safe place to have your wealth and your value? I think in the short term it is. I think as long as you're looking for investments to get into, you know, namely Bitcoin is what I'm looking into. You know, you're probably sitting on the sidelines right now in cash, and I know a lot of traders that are doing exactly that. They're waiting to get into Bitcoin at a nice low entry price, depending on how long this bear market lasts. But right now, you know, currency traders are thinking, you know, they're looking at the euro economy. They're looking at the war in Ukraine, and they're thinking, I want out of euros and I want into other currencies. And they're looking to the United States dollar first and foremost to exit the euro. But they're also looking at francs. They're also looking at the yen. So yeah. Best house in a bad neighborhood is kind of the way I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I think the takeaway from this whole story, I mean, we've been talking about this on this channel for a while, and I think a lot of people are really encouraged, and they're looking at the U.S. dollar and they're saying, oh, you know, the value of it's going up. When I say encouraged, I mean like encouraged to invest in the dollar, to get out of crypto. But I actually think there's going to be a mass exodus of people with their faith in fiat currency. I think it's already started amongst people who have educated themselves. I think a lot of you guys who are watching right now are already starting that process of, even though this is a crypto bear market, you see this as a golden opportunity to begin to transfer your wealth into something that will last a lot longer than the US dollar. But what I can't wait for, T-Shroom and Smay, is I can't wait for the day when people actually start to wake up and say, as much as I need to worry about putting food on the table and as much as I need to worry about things, those things take top priority. At what point are we going to just say, I'm fed up with this? I am done with a currency that can constantly be inflated, that the government can just print at any moment they ever want to, even if they're promising us and telling us we're going to stop it, we're going to roll it back, we're going to stop printing money, we're going to tighten up it's just, at what point can we actually ever trust them? At what point do we actually start moving towards a decentralized form of currency? Even if it comes with some frustrations and wrestling moments early on, it is better long term. I do think that that's going to cause a lot of people a dilemma, but I do think a lot of people will be able to actually make that conscious choice to say it is time for a change. Let's do it. So maybe before we transition into technical analysis, do you have any thoughts about any of those stories? You don't often get to give your take, and I want to open up the floor for you, buddy.
Well, what a pleasant surprise. I'll be honest with you. Based on what you just said, I think it's going to be a while. And the reason why I think it's going to be a while until people finally wake up to the chaos and the horrible things happening with our monetary system is because I think it's going to be this I think it's going to be whatever is most familiar until the innovators prove otherwise, right? So it's like I think it's still on the crypto sector and the innovators in the space to build these systems, kind of like Hedge, kind of like these, these different ways to utilize cryptocurrency in a way that is almost, I feel like in order to convince people to get out of the disadvantageous monetary system that's so familiar for years and years and years and generations, right?
Yeah.
It would have to be a no-brainer. Like it would have to be like, hey, this is so dumb simple. It's already been proven. All these companies are already adopting it, and so on. I think it's gonna start by the innovators first, obviously, and then I think it's going to take a long time before I think everyone else finally gets on board, and there's going to be a lot of stragglers that get left behind.
Yeah,
it's true. I think that's the unfortunate part of it.
And that's what's cool, though, is about the opportunity we have right now for everyone who's watching this show, who's listening. I put over on my Twitter this morning at Tims_TA. I mean, anyone who is following the charts, anyone who's staying up to date on the news, I think 10 to 15 years from now, it's going to be easy pick'ems. You're going to be a millionaire because you were invested in this here early. And that's I think what's funny is obviously it'd be nice to have gotten into Bitcoin when it was $1. It'd be nice to get into Bitcoin when it was at $1,000, at $3,000. But right now we're looking at, we're $20,000, give or take. I think there's a good chance we could dip down as far as 12,000. I know doomsday scenarios get us dipping even further down. We are still early in Bitcoin, though. Even let's say the bottom is in. Let's say 17.5 was the bottom, because that's still a potential possibility. It's not likely, in my opinion, but it is potentially possible. I still think that's early with Bitcoin. We're talking about multiple hundreds of thousands, millions, and who knows how many millions. At that point, I think there's going to be a point where we're not even going to be tracking is Bitcoin worth X amount of US dollars, because the US dollar is going to be so worthless. We're going to be comparing it to something else. That being said, though, I do think that the people who are investing their time and energy into learning about the space right now, 10, 15 years from now, will be the 1%. They will be at the top there because they got in early and they did the dirty work early, and now everybody else is working to catch up. Don't miss that train. But now we're going to kind of transition. Before we jump on the charts, I'll jump on the chart real quick, Smay. Go to my screen. You guys are noticing, as the title of this video, we dropped below 20,000 once again. This did a little bit surprise me. I will start by saying this did a little bit surprise me. If you guys remember, we were doing the show yesterday morning right around this area right here, and there were some signs that potentially on the 4-hourly chart, hourly chart, that we could have had some support. Pulling up our TD sequential, our Bollinger Bands. We had a 9 flash right here yesterday morning. We still have some yellow flashes right in there. We were at the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. There are some other signs also on the chart showing that potentially we could have rallied. We were sitting right there. Let me take down my TD sequential. We were sitting right there back at the support level of a former symmetrical triangle pattern. And those of you who watched the show yesterday, you guys will remember that one of the things we talked about, how this is the third time just this year that we have followed this pattern where we set up a symmetrical triangle pattern, broke bullish out of it, came back down, tested that former resistance as support, and forming a channel, and then breaking bearish. We did it again right here, only this time we did it below that. We broke both those levels of support to do that. But again, we tested it as resistance before later on down the road breaking through. In this situation, we did not wait. We didn't actually use that as form of resistance. We broke right back down through, going back down to the 4-hourly chart. We broke right back down into that symmetrical triangle pattern. So that did surprise me, but I actually half wonder if that has to do a lot with the story of even the White House now coming out and admitting that the inflation numbers we are about to see are going to be rough. And before I transition in my thought with the rest of my TA, you guys remember I also showed you guys this chart here yesterday. This is a chart. I'm going to try to show you as much as possible. This is a chart that I created, just the timeliness of all the report numbers, both CPI reports and FOMC reports. And I'm not going to go into much detail. If you guys want to watch a lot more on what I talked about, go watch yesterday's live stream. I think we have them timestamped. Just watch the TA section. I discussed this. But ever since back during, let's see, it's this one right here. Back when the Fed, the FOMC announced only a 25 basis point height rate, when they said, hey, we're going to kick the heavy stuff down the road, we're going to keep analyzing it. That was the last time that we had a bullish reaction to this news. Notice that everything after that, all the blue is the CPI reports, the green is the FOMC reports. Everything after that has been bearish, and we're sitting right now. We're a day away from an expected 8.8 number for inflation rate. That's definitely higher than the 8.6 we had back here reported in June. With the White House kind of even confirming that that's what we're going to see, I do not see a scenario where that ends up breaking bullish, but I'm very open to anyone's argument. If you disagree, let me know in the chat, T-Shroom, if anyone does, and they have some good arguments as to why, I would love to hear them. But with what we have coming out, I am kind of sitting on boat. Guys, I think this level of support is going to break. I do think we're going to go back down. What the question, though, is how far down will we end up going? And there was a report, I guess, done by Bloomberg, a survey that says that 90% of participants in the project said that a $10,000 price will be coming next quarter. Now, you guys know from this channel, we have kind of discussed 10,000 is probably a little bit low for us. That, for me, is more of a doomsday. But this is the question that's kind of gripping the entire space right now. And then, we've talked about on the show a lot. We're going to talk about it until we actually have a bottom and are able to rally back up. Bitcoin is sitting in a spot where we do not know where the bottom is going to be. And as the reports have shown, at this point, 90% believe it could be as low as 10,000. Now, I do want to remind you guys, let's just back up last year. And something I think you should keep in mind, and this is just my opinion. I do want to clarify, this is my opinion, but there is some logic to it. And that is that sometimes the bears call for a really, really strong price, making a lot of people think that that's the end target, and then they put their buy orders that low, and we never quite get down that low. For example, back last summer when we had this massive crash after the Elon news, when he came out and ended up selling some Bitcoin, saying that Bitcoin needs to work on its environmental impact with the mining, a lot of people were calling for 25,000. A lot of people had that target 25,000. And we showed you on the charts, I remember Jebb talking about this, how it could have gone all the way down to 20,000. Of course, we did it here a year later. But let's just start with that number. A lot of people, a lot of bears calling for 25,000, but we never made it below 28.7. In the same realm, there's been a lot of times where bulls, I've seen people even during this bull market, while a lot of people called for 100,000, I saw several experts saying, hey, a key level of resistance is going to be around 70,000. We didn't make it to 70,000. We made it to 69,000, I think, like barely, just barely over 69,000. What is my point? What am I trying to take away? When people call for 10,000, I want you to just be a little cautious. I think that there is some evidence and some weight to say that Bitcoin is going to be dropping a lot further than a lot of us would like. However, I am not ready to call 10,000 the number yet, and I would not be surprised to see the market push that low before whales and institutions and what Wyckoff calls the composite man kind of swoops in, manipulates the market, because they know retail investors are looking for that $10,000 mark, and they're not going to let it get quite that low, but they'll let it get close enough that people continue to hold out purchasing till we get there. Let me know if that train of thought followed with you guys, and if you agree or disagree, let me know in the chat. But as far as right now, because we did break the $20,000 mark, right now we're sitting at a key level of support. Let me go back down to the 4-hourly chart to kind of preface this. We're sitting at this uprising level support in this rising trading channel, which also happens to be a bear flag, which again, if I were to predict the price out like we did yesterday, sends us down to about $12,600, $12,500, somewhere in that range. That is our current level of support. And we do have two green candles here on the 4-hourly chart. If this does not hold, though, the next levels I'm looking at, just looking at these candles, of course, would be 18,800. This is where we bottomed out back here in early July, end of June, early July. We bottomed out here twice. Then, of course, the next level would be, of course, matching that low during this entire bear market, down around 17,500. But if I were to pull up my VPVR and scroll out to pretty much this entire bull market that we've had coming into the bear market. So I'm going to have to scroll for you guys here just a little bit, kind of give you guys a lot of different pictures here. If I were to show you guys what we have looked like ever since this time, you're going to notice these yellow lines right here. Let me kind of get everything into focus. There we go. You guys can notice these pockets right here where we actually start to see some levels of support building in. 1760, that's right here before, if we can't hold that level according to VPVR, where we have a lot of volume, where people have been making trades, we have a lot to drop all the way down to we have strong support around 15.5. If we can't hold 15.5, our next drop is down to about 13,631, and we kind of have some strong support there all the way until about that 12,009, 12,005 we talked about yesterday. If we can't hold that, then we're now talking about an 11,000. But notice all of these are over 10,000. Look at that strong level of support right there, sitting right around 11,600. So again, with that narrative I was just kind of talking about a second ago, with people putting this prediction of 10,000 or lower, and a lot of people kind of buying into that low price and waiting for that number to happen. A lot of times you get close and then it doesn't quite get there, and you end up missing out on your buy. On the top of a bull market, you end up missing out on your sell. You don't want to be caught in a place where you get so close to your buy level and then miss it completely. I would not be surprised to see, again, 12.5 is kind of the part that I'm looking at. If that doesn't hold, 11.6. And again, doomsday scenario, yes, 10,000 is possible, 9,000 is possible. I've shown you on the charts before that absolutely is possible. But at this point, the question is it likely? So that's all I got for technical analysis today. We're going to transition to some super chats and any chats that you guys might have asked in chat specifically about that technical analysis. I want to hear what you guys have to think. But like closing thoughts when it comes to technical analysis is, guys, I am sorry. I wish the charts could just confirm and promise you something, but right now we are at the mercy of this news of the CPI data and then what the Fed's response is going to be, because even though it sounds like from the White House we're going to have some bad numbers here tomorrow, we at this point still believe that it seems like, at least on the CME futures, that the Fed is going to go a little more dovish and scale back down to 50 basis points for a hike. Is that going to change based off those numbers? And I'm just telling you right now, if those two things play out, it does not matter what we're looking at on the charts today. That is going to bring more bearish feelings to the market, and I do expect the price to dip. With that being said, though, do we have any questions in chat that are relevant to TA or any questions in general we can answer?
I will tell you what, Tim. I'm going to read the two super chats we got, and then you can scan the chat to see if there's anybody commenting on your TA.
Yeah.
And then we have some just regular chats as well that we can circle back on.
Sweet.
All right, starting with the paid, we've got James Bowler, who has a very interesting tweet, and I will issue a disclaimer at the end on my thoughts on this. Donating $10, said, "Can we return the favor to the banks and pull our own GameStop run on them? Pick a day, pick a bank, and we all withdraw $100 or more on the same day. Give them a taste of their own medicine." So this is an interesting comment, perhaps coming from the bowels of some certain subreddit or 4chan trying to organize some kind of a bank run. I don't think that's going to happen, and I wouldn't participate in an organized bank run. That seems like a terrible idea.
No, that's not it.
All right. And then Grand Roofing Incorporated donated $5 and said, "Missed the intro. Grand Roofing Incorporated. LOL. Don't ever sell it, Smay. Hey, D's nuts. Jokes aside, hope everyone is doing well. Hashtag Finsoff. Hashtag at Bedrock." Tim, what are you seeing in the comments?
Yes, I'm reading and listening to those as well. I think not that Smay has any favorites in chat, but I do think he's found a person in chat that that makes him chuckle. So shout out to D's nuts. You cannot say it. You just can't say the expression without at least smiling. I was looking at a couple different things. I've seen some comments in here about Richard Hart, and it's funny because someone claims that he called the top. Someone said over a year ago he called 10,000 as the bottom. Great, good for him. If you want to ascribe to him, that's something we're really big on. We think that you should get a very diverse group of opinions to make your decisions. It is a hard market. A lot of people. It's not just our channel that talks about we want you to create financial sovereignty for yourself. It is a space where it would be absolutely 100% impossible to make every decision without at least hearing other people's opinions. But the way you do that is that you grab multiple people's opinions and you listen to their reasoning, and then you kind of find your middle point. You find what you think makes the most sense. As far as Richard Hart's predictions, I don't remember him predicting the top. So if that is the case, good for him. I think that's awesome. As far as just predicting down to 10,000, maybe he's going to be right. But I also, I do remember a lot of people calling for absolutely disastrous prices. And to be fair, there's a lot of us that were calling for $100,000 by the end of 2021. We were wrong. And I say we because I'm one of them. We were wrong. But guess what? There's a lot of people that have called for low Bitcoin prices and put dates on them. For example, a lot of people called for 20,000 as the bottom of the bear market. And so far, that's holding pretty close. But their timing was very wrong. So in that case, did anyone who called 100,000 do they get the benefit of the doubt when a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I don't know how long it's going to take, when we hit 100,000, are they going to be able to say, look, I called it, I was right? I wouldn't think so, because they got the time wrong. In the same way, Richard Hart, I remember him calling for, I don't remember 10,000, the number 10,000 being the exact number, but I remember him calling for a dip, and he was talking about very soon. Maybe his definition of soon means within the next year and a half. I don't know. But he definitely made it sound like we were about to crash at that moment. Of course, we were rallying. So, just because he said it, if you guys want to listen to Richard Hart, go for it. First of all, I know he's been in this game way longer than me. I just would like to say, Take a diverse opinion. Listen to us. Listen to Richard. Listen to BitBoy. Listen to Altcoin Daily. Listen to a lot of different people. Listen to people that you agree with. Listen to people you disagree with, because that is the only way you can make actually informed, educated decisions for yourself. And I promise you, I cannot tell you how many times I have found myself listening to someone and I started out thinking, I disagree with this person, but after listening to their entire take and not interrupting them, not taking a sound bite and trying to determine what they were saying for them, actually listening to what they have to say, I found myself kind of swaying my views and changing how I viewed things. And that is a good thing. That is how we move forward as a world to actually have real support and education. So that's kind of like what I have to say there. Again, like him, love him, hate him, whatever. I would say listen to Richard Hart. Listen to what he has to say and then decide for yourself. Same thing with everybody else. Anything else? I mean, that was the most interesting I saw in chat. A couple different people talking about him. Some people for him, some people against him. Did you see anything else that you saw that was interesting?
Yeah, Crypto Steve asked, is Exodus Wallet safe to keep crypto? I think that Exodus Wallet is one that I've heard is pretty reputable. And someone also asked the same about Coinbase. Coinbase, yes, is also the leading wallet out there. So, those are definitely safe. And then Matt C asked he asked all of us, do you think tomorrow's number is priced in
No.
or expecting 8.5 or higher?
No, I don't think so. And again, even if going back to the charts, not that I think that we ever thought that they were going to have great numbers beforehand. I think back here, for example, back in June, early June, we knew that inflation was going to be bad, but it wasn't until we officially got the 8.6 report that we actually ended up crashing down. So unfortunately, Matt, I don't think the price is baked in. I think that this is just the market kind of playing out and they're waiting. I do think the dip last night potentially was a little bit of baked in, but there's no way that if we have a number that is 8.8 or higher, that bottom is the final bottom. And then let's just say, for the sake of the argument, that number does, we see an 8.8 or more, and we continue to move somewhat sideways, then I just think there's too much pressure on the Fed to go ahead and at least keep a 75 basis point height rate, even though people are hoping for / expecting a 50 basis height rate. I would be very happy to be wrong for my Bitcoin holdings and for your Bitcoin holdings. I would love to be wrong, but I do not have that feeling whatsoever. I think this is going to be a repeat. I do think we're going to see another dip down, which is one of the reasons why it's so hard. But I think to say I'm making the prediction is a little bit too strong because a lot of things can happen. But I just would not be surprised at all to see the Bitcoin price below 15,000 here within the next month, potentially even down to 12,005. So yeah.
Well, my 2 cents on that is usually the inflation number does not get baked in, but the Fed does get baked in. The Fed decision does get baked in because we know what they're thinking, and they've been very clear, very explicit on what is pushing the needle for them and their decision making, and it seems like it's 100% inflation. So it'll be baked in by the end of tomorrow. It'll be baked in certainly by the weekend. So we can. Well, there's another super chat.
Yeah, we have one more here, and I think this has to do with technical analysis. I'll read it here.
Yeah,
Sebastian Licona said, Tim, learning Elliott wave theory matches your RSI divergence strategy perfectly and can boost your accuracy a lot. Mad love and respect for your guys' work. Elliott wave is something I want to learn even more about. Elliott wave is something I've dabbled in, but the problem is, and I think people have exposed this before, is that Elliott wave is not as simple as maybe some people want it to be. It's really easy to think that you're reading the waves correctly, and then you get wrecked on it. Also, there's times where, learning when to know when to do a 5 wave and when to do a 3 wave, or like an ABC. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's ABC. There's, knowing when to do it on the way up or on the way down, when to know when to do down on the way up. It's a little more complicated, but I agree. That's something, Sebastian, I'm wanting to work a lot more to add to my tools of TA strategy. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that. We're going to read Nico's here at the end of the show. But let's go ahead and transition because we got one more. I told you guys taxes are going to come back up. And I know that this wasn't even the nature of the show, but we do have phenomenal sponsors, again, that they keep us going and we love them. But if taxes are going to be a really, really big thing, protecting yourself from losing money on taxes. I don't know if you guys knew this or not. Said it before, but we have not, this next tax season, we are never going to have seen the IRS be as scrutinizing to the crypto space as we will this year when you go to do your taxes in 2023. So that is why companies like iTrust Capital are phenomenal. But the other thing that is super phenomenal, especially for anyone out there that is doing a good amount of trading, is doing any types of staking whatsoever, is to get yourself a CPA. And we have a great CPA called Anthony Price. And just so you guys know what he offers, it's really easy to say, hey, if I have my trading account, he's going to help me calculate how much taxes I owe in my trading account. That's the bare minimum. That's the easy stuff. That is simple. And if that's all you want him for, go for it. Go sign up with his link down below. But what's even cooler is he's going to be able to help you guys with all of your taxes, US dollar, crypto, whatever you need. And then also, if you are wanting it, one of his services is helping you financially plan to maximize how much money you get to keep in your pockets. A lot of people are going to be losing millions of dollars in taxes because they do not understand how the crypto tax world actually works. If you were to go to your normal CPA, a lot of them will say that they offer crypto advice, but they don't understand how it works. What you want is somebody who is in the crypto world, who understands the crypto laws, who understands what you need to do to maximize your profits without giving all of it away to the government. If that's something that you want, I highly recommend signing up with Anthony Price. Again, today, there's a link down below. And what's really cool is if you sign up today or if you reach out to him today, the first 20-minute call is absolutely free. So you can just find out. You just call the guy, say, hey, I have these problems going on. I have this. I want to hear what your counsel is. I want to see how you handle this. And if you don't like it, walk away. But if you love it, you just found yourself a phenomenal CPA that will save you millions. Sign up with that link down in the description. Let's move on, though. Let's gonna transition into our thoughts. So I'm going to kind of throw this over to T-Shroom, because I know this was something he worked really hard on. And we're going to go back and forth. I'm going to ask him some questions, and we're going to unpack this a little bit. Again, not a very heavy news day today, so we're kind of working on more of a long-term subject right here, and that is, what does the future of CBDCs look like? And the report that he's going to be talking about is a report, I believe, from the Treasury, the U.S. Treasury, in response to a report given by the U.S. President, I said Barack Obama. Obama Biden is what my brain was going with. Joe Biden. Yeah, I could make a political statement right there, but I'm going to skip over that one. A report from Joe Biden and his staff has a response from the Treasury, and it includes a lot of juicy information about CBDCs. So with that being said, T-Shroom, take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, you got to start at the beginning, right? So, Smay, if you want to go to my screen, the beginning is when back in March 9th, Biden issued a long-awaited U.S. executive order on crypto. He asked for federal agencies will evaluate their approach in 6 key priorities within digital assets sector. Well, fast forward to today, we have that framework, we have that fact sheet. So last week they issued it. The Janet Yellen's U.S. Treasury. U.S. Treasury develops framework for international crypto regulations, and we pulled that framework and we've been reading it over, and it's really, really interesting. But I'll go ahead and summarize it for you. Essentially, they are trying to figure out where they want to put their teeth. They are just this fact sheet is essentially just a bunch of word salad. I'll just take a sample. The executive order outline. So she's talking about the executive order there. Not necessarily Janet Yellen wrote this. In fact, T.A. Tim was able to quickly identify a couple of grammatical errors, which is kind of funny. So, so this fact sheet is not something that they've.
They didn't have a what do you call it?
A copywriter?
Copywriter.
Yeah.
I just realized also, little segue. I realized someone put in chat. I said height rakes. There's no such thing as a height rake. It's a rate hike. But I went through it so fast that I'm a little dyslexic this morning. So sorry about that, guys. But anyway, keep going, T-Shroom.
But yeah, this is a lot of just posturing. This is a lot of just, we are responding to Biden's executive order and we're working on it, but we don't know yet where we want to actually land as a department. And so, but we're still issuing this fact sheet to kind of give interested parties some guidance and a little bit of direction on how to think about it. One thing I will note is that if you see at the top of my screen, I use the Control F feature to see how many times they listed the word CBDC, which is not a word, it's an acronym. 15 times they talk about it down here in this paragraph. We'll jump back up to paragraphs before it, but They talk about a history of robust engagement provides a strong foundation for expanded strategic engagement going forward. And then they go on to list the acronym CBDC several times. So clearly CBDCs are on their mind. But having read this article, and I urge you to go read it as well, it's at home.treasury.gov. So it's a .gov, very serious website, /news/press release. You can find this article and go read it for yourself. But essentially, it's kind of talking about how there's been frameworks already set up and that it's going to adhere to these frameworks and that the CBDC might be something that they're looking into. It's a lot of mights and shoulds and exploring the development and the potential. This sentence here, the established principles for jurisdictions in their exploration and potential development of CBDCs. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of what we could do, what we might do. Not really threatening necessarily. And then it goes on to list these other key agencies that it sees as leaders in CBDCs and crypto and digital assets more broadly. The G7 to be expected, the G20. These are just groups of prominent countries that make decisions on things, and usually those decisions aren't very binding. Financial Stability Board, this is a relatively, or this one, the Financial Action Task Force and Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence. This seems to be a group that actually has some teeth. It has had some events where it intervened with some actors in the crypto space. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, other standard setting bodies. So they're just talking about the partners that they're going to be working with. But if we go up here, this is really where the meat and the potatoes is. Objectives of the framework, right? So they're talking about what do they want to do with this framework. Again, reacting to Joe Biden's executive order, they're saying, okay, look, boss, we came up with something, but we still need more time before we actually issue this framework. Here's just a fact sheet. So here's some of the facts. They want to protect consumers, investors, and businesses in the United States and globally by promoting technologies and regulatory standards that reflect U.S. values. Big shocker there, right? I'll jump ahead. Mitigate illicit finance and national security risks posed by misuse of digital assets and counter and respond to efforts by foreign adversaries to drive standards and promote their protocols, right? Okay, so they're looking for quality protocols. They're looking for, good actors to emerge in this industry. All makes sense. They want to promote access to safe and affordable financial services. Look, these are all things that you would expect from the U.S. Treasury Department of the United States, but they're not really signaling they're going to come down hard on anything in specific, right? The last one that I'll point out actually pertains to us, the support technology advances that promote responsible development and use of digital assets by advancing research and relationships that increase shared learning, something we try to do here at the channel for sure. But look, you can't really disagree with anything in this paragraph. This is all just, things that everybody wants out of the crypto space. But overall, you can leave my screen if you're still on it. Overall, they're really signaling that they're still trying to figure out where they want to put their teeth. After all, the U.S. Treasury does have a lot of powers. There's a lot of things that they can do. They are in charge of the mint. They are in charge of a lot of things that affect our currency. They're not quite the Federal Reserve, so they don't get to choose the supply rate and the rate of the federal funds rate. But they do get to have a lot of say in what goes on from a currency standpoint. And so kind of what I'm thinking, my key takeaways was they're really waiting for the shoe to drop on the lending bankruptcies that are going on with Three Arrows Capital, that with Celsius, and what happened with similar institutions that are kind of tied up with those. They're waiting to see kind of how bad this is. Also with Luna. Terra Luna, how bad this is, where they can really be useful in issuing regulation, and how they might step in the future and issue their own CBDC that could potentially remedy some of the issues that came out of the algorithmic stablecoin that was over at Terra Luna, and how they could step in and be useful. But they're still waiting on the shoe to drop before they come out and say exactly what they want to do, exactly how they want to regulate or support regulation from other institutions like the SEC or the CFTC. Another key takeaway was that the U.S. may see themselves as the only entity worthy of issuing a stablecoin. So the amount, and this would be a more aggressive prediction as a result of this rather manila fact sheet that they've issued, which is that they think that maybe perhaps there shouldn't be any stablecoins other than their own CBDC, and at least in the U.S. And I think that this could work in their favor, because then they would be able to more closely monitor who's selling out of crypto. So I don't think it's really in the interest of the U.S. to be trying to get into the crypto game, so to speak. I don't think that they would issue a coin that would try to compete with Bitcoin or Ethereum. They might, and that could be potentially interesting, but I don't think that they see that as in their favor. Whereas you've seen a lot of pushback against stable coins because it mimics the U.S. dollar after all. And I think also it's kind of a way, there's some kind of tax advantages, some tax plays that you can do with stable coins to kind of hide some of the profits that maybe you're making in crypto. And I think that they're well aware of that. And so it would give them every advantage to have their own stable coin that is more popular than Tether and more popular than any other stable coin that's out there right now, so that they can monitor selling in crypto. It's as simple as that. But I don't think that they're even convinced that they want to do that yet. I think that they want to see what happens with these lending bankruptcies, and I think that's kind of their priority right now. So that's the fact sheet, and that's what's on Janet Yellen's mind, or at least her aides and her associates who aren't super good at spelling and grammar.
Yeah, I mean, not that it was ever said there, T-Shirt, but do you think that this is potentially the start of, we talked about that. The CBDC was said 15 times in that document, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't a document, written specifically for CBDCs, but it definitely included them in its content as to what it's proposing it should do. Do you think this is that power push that they are pushing for? You kind of mentioned maybe they could be the going rate for the entire economy, but even are they thinking about, because we know from reports with El Salvador that there are people within our U.S. government who are very concerned about what Bitcoin's success would do to the U.S. dollar. Is this their sly roundabout way, in the same way that Bitcoin's a sly roundabout way to attack fiat currency? Is this their sly roundabout way to try to find a way to cripple Bitcoin or at least keep it at bay?
I think that they are interested in issuing a CBDC, but I think that they're not going to do it in a way that's going to cause a ton of revolt and a bunch of that they're going to make essentially the crypto space hate them even more than they already are. And I think when you see moves from Fidelity where they're trying to incorporate their 401ks with crypto, I think that they see the writing on the wall, meaning the U.S. government sees the writing on the wall. Crypto's here to stay, and it's gaining popularity, and it certainly over the next 5 years will become extremely popular through the next bull run. I don't think that they're trying to position themselves as the anti-crypto coin. I think they're trying to see where can they actually be useful, and I think that they think that a CBDC will be useful. I think also they want to get ahead of the curve as other countries issue their own CBDCs. They don't want to be left, behind. And I think also they know that if they did issue a CBDC, that it would be very popular. But I also think it's just tough for them to get their head around. It would be a huge move to issue something like this. How would that affect bond markets? How would that affect the dollar? Would value flood into out of bonds and out of the dollar and into the CBDC if they were to over market it and make it seem too shiny and fun and new? Maybe that's what they want. So they're just trying to figure out exactly what they want to do with that. And I don't think we'll see a CBDC for probably in my own opinion, probably 5 years. But I think that they are seriously considering it, and I think there are a lot of advantages for them to issue one. But I think that the biggest threat that the U.S. government poses to Bitcoin is not a CBDC. I think it's banning it, right? And nowhere in this fact sheet did they talk about banning Bitcoin, and nowhere did they talk about banning crypto. They talk about providing, in their word salad kind of way, they talk about providing an environment that's safe and that favors, honest and upstanding protocols and things of that nature, which is to be expected. That's what the government's there for, is to make the cream rise to the top and let the bad actors fall to the wayside through regulation and through the courts. Another big threat that the U.S. Can pose to crypto is to tax the heck out of it. And they don't really mention taxation in this fact sheet. They don't mention especially increasing taxation is something we've seen in India recently. So they're not taking cues from other major nation states who are taking aggressive action against crypto to disincentivize it. So really they haven't banned it. They're not talking about taxing it. And it's not like the Treasury could do either of those anyway, but they're also not showing support for organizations that are looking to do that as well. And they're also looking potentially to never compete with something like Bitcoin. They're not talking about issuing a crypto, right? They're talking about issuing a CBDC, which, as we all know, you don't ever profit from owning an asset like Tether, right? You just hold it, and it's pegged to the dollar, and there's inflationary effects to it, but it's not something that you get in anticipation for building wealth.
Yeah.
Right. So overall, I'd give this fact sheet, it's very, very word salady, very boring, but it does kind of signal that they are still interested in making CBDCs. They're not uninterested in doing that, but they're also not interested in some of those doomsday type things that would bring crypto to its knees in terms of banning it or taxing it at an increased rate to equities or bonds. So I'd say overall, this is good. This is a good direction. They're taking their cues from the executive branch, they're in the executive branch. They're taking their views from Biden in his executive order, and they're taking some steps forward. And I don't think there's anything that we really need to be afraid of here, unless for some reason you think that a US CBDC stable coin is a big threat to crypto. When I walk away from this, I'm not getting any kind of feelings of fear, but I am very interested to see what actual framework they lay out and what kind of teeth that might have as a result of some of these lending bankruptcies that come out.
I think, as we close this one out and we're going to transition, because today we have our price predictions. We have our HODL Trophy predictions.
Yep.
We also have some more super chats. This is where I'm kind of sitting out, T-Shroom, is let's say it's not let's say their intention is not harmful. Let's say their intention is actually to help people. This is not fixing one of the biggest issues with money, and that is the centralized authority of it. In fact, CBDCs open up a massive, massive ability for governments to not only continue to control the money, but now get even more nitty-gritty about controlling people's lives. So, for example, if you are using a stable coin that the U.S. government owns, they absolutely have the ability to track you and do whatever they want with you. And, you can go to several different countries throughout the world that have some form of way to track their citizens, and not that the U.S. doesn't have their little roundabout ways, but we're talking about very blatant ways that people track their citizens and rate their citizens and have restrictions on their citizens. The CBDC for the United States is the opening door to a massive amount of privacy violation and control of the government. Whether their intent is to do so or not, we are pretty much giving them the keys, and that is not going to go down well. So I will probably forever be against the idea of a CBDC simply because of the precedents and the doors that it will open to continue to develop power within a centralized system, in this case being the government. But let's go ahead and transition, because we want to respect the time. So we're going to do some super chats. We're going to do our price predictions for Friday, our HODL Trophy price predictions. But let's start with super chats and questions in chat that we can respond to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I don't see any new super chat.
Was one. We left one from Nico Wild, and then I saw another one he just posted here a second ago. Okay. Nico's been going off on super chats.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
so I'll read the most recent one the first one from Nico Wild. What happened? Donating $5. What happens if Americans come to collectively believe that inflation has decoupled from tapering? Might see certain inflation irrespective of tapering. So there's a lot in that question. I think it's an intelligent question, but it's going to take a second for that to kind of settle in.
Yeah,
Tim, what are your initial thoughts on that?
I'm gonna have to chew on that one. I don't think I have a good answer for that at the moment.
Okay, that means basically what he's asking is, what if the Fed loses power and it can't get inflation under control? What if they're tapering tool? What if the tools in their toolbox just don't work? They've stripped the screw, so to speak, and they cannot use their tools to try and fix what's wrong with the economy. I don't think that we're seeing that yet. We'll get that data tomorrow. If it's runaway inflation, if we're seeing 10 or 11, that's really, really bad. But and that would be pretty bad. But I think if it's only marginally higher, if it's something like 8.8 or 8.9, or even 9 or into 9, I think it's not good. It's definitely not good. But it's signaling that the Fed is still going to just continue to raise rates, and at some point they're thinking that tool from that toolbox is going to work. But if Americans collectively believe that inflation is decoupled, then you're talking about really the best case scenario for crypto, right? You're talking about Americans are looking for an alternative. You're also talking about bank runs, though, and that's not good. So that's essentially what that would be my response. That's how I'm reading.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
question.
like you said, that's interesting. I'll have to put more thought into it and what would play out with that one. But his other one he put here: 65 million users newly able to easily purchase Bitcoin out of Brazil via PicPay.
Yeah, I saw
Brazil happens to have BRICS members, so seems bullish for Bitcoin. I'm not familiar with that story. Are you familiar with that story? PicPay?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like that folks in Brazil are going to be able to pay their bills in crypto through this BitPay, which could be pretty big, could be pretty revolutionary. We didn't cover it because there's just it's not in the U.S., and it's also not. I don't think it's 100% confirmed. I think that you're just announcing it. It's not like being instituted yet, but yeah, Brazil is a BRICS member. I think BRICS is a South American. It's either emerging world powers, or it's South American powers. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I know that Brazil has been big on Bitcoin now for a while, and with their money going down the tubes as well, just like every other country. It seems like though, Brazil has been very big on that. There was actually even a push. Someone reached out to us to ask if we wanted them to translate everything we do video wise into Portuguese, because there's no. I think there's a couple Portuguese YouTubers that teach crypto, but a lot of them are very manipulative, and they're trying to they're just not good for the people. So they were reaching out to people who had good takes. And so I know that Brazil, the demand in Brazil for education on Bitcoin has been up for a while. So if this news is true, and if it does come out that it is true, that I think that could actually be really big. That's a big population down there.
It is.
So yeah,
they have a very small GDP, but ours is U.S. is 22 trillion. China is something like 18 trillion, and theirs is 1.4 trillion. So it accounts for a very small, pretty small economy on the world stage. But it is a BRICS nation, which is it's an emerging power. And BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America.
But the other thing we got to remember is the more, because we already have one country in El Salvador, which is phenomenal, but the more countries that end up moving towards Bitcoin being at least a form of legal tender, the harder it will be for things like the U.S. government and others to end up banning it, because you cannot just ban another currency, another country's sovereign currency. So I'm for all the countries in the world, no matter what the size of their GDP is, to do it, because it's going to put more pressure on the U.S. government to stay away from banning, which is one of the, we were talking about earlier in the story, was one of the concerns, is that theoretically speaking, that even though we don't think that's a very likely thing in this case, it doesn't mean it's off the table. So
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that they have banned the North Korean currency as well, and they
but I think the depiction there is the sovereign countries in which we see as allies.
We see as allies.
So yeah, obviously a country that like for example, if Russia, I think at this point, were to try to make Bitcoin legal tender, that wouldn't really impact that much because we have so many sanctions on them.
Right. The Central African Republic, also another country that's done that. There's some that's made Bitcoin legal tender, and there's some others that are close. But to the spirit of the question, right? It's a big deal that you be able to pay your bills in crypto. There's definitely a lot to that, and Brazil's going to be kind of betaing that concept, and maybe we'll see that in the U.S. soon.
Well, let's go ahead and transition here. We're going to do our HODL Trophy predictions, and I will start out because I won last week, so that is our tradition, that if you win the week before, you go first, and then everybody else has to stay $500 away from your prediction. For anyone who is new, every single Tuesday, we predict what we think Bitcoin will be on Friday, specifically right at 10:55 Eastern Standard Time. So please do not use any of this as financial advice. Do not make trades based off of this. This is simply us having a fun game of competition to see if we can beat each other out. A lot of times, all three of us end up being right at some point. It's about who's the closest at 10:55. With that being said, though, right now, we're bouncing off that support level. We're climbing back up. We're sitting at close to 19.9, but again, tomorrow's when we actually get those CPI numbers. I do think the CPI numbers are going to cause some shockwaves. I do think it's going to cause a dip in price. I don't know if it'll be quite ready yet to dip down to new lows. So I'm going to say Bitcoin is going to be sitting on Friday. Let's do 18,200.
18,200.
18200. 18,200 is my prediction for Friday. Smith, you're the most recent winner, so you get to go second.
Let me dig deep. I'm going to say it's Gonna go to. You said 18,200.
Yes.
I'm gonna go
Good
to
math.
17,800.
That is within 400, so that is an invalid prediction.
17,700.
All right, 17-7. T-shirt, how about you? Bat and cleanup.
Let's see. There's a good chance I won't even be on Friday. So
Well, you still get your prediction. It's good.
let's say let's do 20,000. I'll be the optimist.
You'll be the bull.
Yeah.
You think we're going up? Do you have any reason to think we're going up, or are you just throwing that number out there?
I mean, this. I am making kind of a spur of the moment prediction here, but I mean, who was asking this question? Nico. You know, at what point does the flippening happen where Bitcoin goes ahead and becomes the world currency? I'm not saying this is the moment. I'm not saying this is why.
By this Friday, guys,
that'd be a hard number.
You heard it,
but
here first.
I do think that Wall Street, and I do think that the American 401k holder at some point is going to be like, if the Fed just doesn't have this inflation under control, especially if it accelerates the rate at which it's running away. I think they could be important, and I think that Bitcoin could be the alternative. So that's why I'm choosing 20,000 today.
I want to say something real quick. I've had my name spelled so many different ways.
It's true.
So many different ways. I think this is probably the most egregious. Nico Wild says, thinking Schmang might win. Just the timing could be off. We might be on the way up from 17 by the time we hit Friday. Schmang.
Well, we'll see.
It's like so simple. It's 4 letters, guys.
And Kelly's
SMAY.
coming in at 21,000. So
wow.
That's interesting.
Extra bullish.
Well, let's just, in case anyone got lost in all that, let's just go. All right, Friday at 10:55, Team Tim. If you are Team Tim, you are agreeing with 18,200. That will be Bitcoin's price. Team Smay, what do you think?
Team Smay says 17.7.
17.7. T-Shroom, Team T-Shroom.
What was the question?
Oh my goodness! What is your prediction? Just wrapping up in one small segment for everyone.
20,000.
20,000. Let us know in the comments what you think about those predictions, whose team you're on. I mean, I'm riding a wave here recently. 3 wins in the last 4 weeks. You got to go Team Tim, I think, but I'll respect you guys' opinions. That is all we have for today's show, guys. Thank you for coming in, bearing with us. We'll be back tomorrow. I will not be back tomorrow. I actually have a meeting tomorrow morning, so we will see if we have a show. If Jebb is back in, then we will have a show. If he is not, then we will see you guys Thursday for a great show then. With that being said, though, have a great day. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling. Got a real good feeling.